Trump had to say recently is saying that the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is something presidents give out, I mean, Trump gave one to Devin Nunes, the former congressman, is the equivalent and much better than the Medal of Honor, which of course is the practically, as you know, as a combat veteran, sacred. I mean, it is the nation's highest military honor. I mean, what do you make of that?
John, it's totally taken out of context.
It's not taken out of context.
The point he was making is that he gives the Presidential Medal of Freedom, just like other presidents do, to civilians who have done important things for their nation, but who haven't sacrificed life and limb. And when you go to a Medal of Honor ceremony at the White House and you're presenting it to a soldier who's sacrificed his body, or to his parents, or to his children, or his spouse, that it is of a different order of magnitude. It's totally out of context. Donald Trump was.
Do you agree that the Presidential Medal of Freedom is much better? Those are his words.
John, it was totally. You're totally taking that out of context.
This is why it's important to ask Trump surrogates to explain why they support everything he says and does that they'd never overlook if anyone else said it. It highlights just how few principles they have on issues they've based their entire political point of view on.
Donald Trump was great for our military. He is great for our veterans. Kamala Harris is the one who's proposed, for instance, to cut the military every single year. Kamala Harris is the one who voted for military cuts when she was in the Senate. Donald Trump has utmost respect for our veterans and our troops, and you see that by his record in office.
First of all, I think it's about time we stop assuming that exorbitant and wasteful military spending is an automatic signal that a politician is pro-military. It's where people like Tom Cotton go to lazily avoid addressing Trump's fake support for service members. But what was that again about his Medal of Honor words being taken out of context?
Saying that the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is something presidents give out, is the equivalent and much better than the Medal of Honor. What do you make of that?
John, it's totally taken out of context.
It's not taken out of context.
When we gave Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom, that's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better.
The point he was making is that he gives the Presidential Medal of Freedom, just like other presidents do, to civilians who have done important things for their nation, but who haven't sacrificed life and limb. And when you go to a Medal of Honor ceremony at the White House and you're presenting it to a soldier who's sacrificed his body, or to his parents, or to his children, or his spouse, that it is of a different order of magnitude. It's totally out of context.
Everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman. And they're rated equal.
Do you agree that the Presidential Medal of Freedom is much better? Those are his words.
John, it was you're totally taking that out of context.
When I say better, I would rather, in a certain way, get it because people that get the Congressional Medal of Honor, which I've given to many, are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. They get it posthumously.
It's so much easier to just say that he misspoke, that he heard the criticism from Americans that feel the Medal of Honor is more prestigious than the Medal of Freedom because of the sacrifices many have given to receive it. He just sees it the other way around because he thinks a life without injury is a better one. It's not a great look, but he could at least signal that he understands the point of view of those that served. Instead, he took it as an opportunity to use it to bail on his upcoming debate with VP Harris on ABC. I watched ABC Fake News this morning. Both lightweight reporter Jonathan Karl's ridiculous and biased interview of Tom Cotton, who was fantastic, and their so-called panel of Trump haters. And I ask, why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network? Will panelist Donna Brazile give the questions to the Marxist candidate like she did for crooked Hillary Clinton? Will Kamala's best friend, who heads up ABC, do likewise? Where is little George Slopadopoulos hanging out now? Will he be involved? They've got a lot of questions to answer. Why did Harris turn down Fox, NBC, CBS, and even CNN? Stay tuned. So while the former president builds a case against participating in the upcoming debate, conservative media is doing their part to legitimize his excuse.
I mean, can you imagine being a Kamala Harris surrogate? I have no idea what she believes. I don't know when she's going to talk to any of you.
She's joyful.
Yeah, but she's joyful. So, you have that, which is also a lie because she's not. I mean, we all saw that clip earlier with Senator Cotton and Jonathan Karl at ABC. He's supposed to be a journalist, and he basically played the role of a surrogate. So we're not going to get any answers. The media doesn't do their job. They're terrible. They're hacks.
We've reached a point in political discourse that a reporter or an anchor refusing to accept an obvious falsehood coming from a politician is considered to be representing their opponent. The panel at ABC that contributed to Trump's Truth Social post obviously struck a nerve with their analysis of his recent string of self-inflicted wounds.
Just look at Donald Trump in the past few days. I mean, this notion of him trying to make up with Brian Kemp, the popular governor of Georgia, who he was blasting just the other day, saying things like, I'm going to be great for women and for reproductive rights. I'm a great leader on IVF. I mean, he clearly is flailing right now, and people have been telling him for weeks, focus on policy, focus on policy, focus on policy. He hasn't listened, and now he's really got a lot of ground to make up in these polls.
And you see it in his schedule, by the way. I mean, J-Mart, he's out there. I mean, he had been, let's face it, a lot of time in Mar-a-Lago, a lot of time in bed, a lot of golf.
Yeah. And a lot of time in court.
And a lot of time in court.
Let's not forget that.
So I mean, he's out there now.
But let's be.
But look what he's saying when he gets out.
Let's be brutally honest. If you took a survey of the Republican caucus on Capitol Hill and said, would you prefer Donald Trump to play golf the rest of the campaign and let his campaign drive the messaging, or have Donald Trump do events? We all know which they prefer. He's at political health risk to himself when he travels and does events. Because, as Rachel points out, they want policy. He's never going to do policy. He doesn't want to talk about policy. That's boring for him.
You know, I can actually understand the levels of frustration that many Republicans and conservative pundits must feel when they watch the media refuse to simply accept every lie that Donald Trump tells. They've enjoyed years of him benefiting from the fear of correcting the false realities that he consistently gives. And in this particular election cycle, many have found it's beneficial to counter it with the truth. They're not even willing to let the private negotiations about the debate go without calling him out.
We're learning about some back and forth happening between the two campaigns as they sort out these rules for the ABC presidential debate happening next month. Now, what this includes, as I'm told, is the microphones, whether or not they stay on during the debate. Remember that in June, the then Biden campaign had requested that the mics be turned off when each of the candidates was speaking. That is a little different from the way that the Harris campaign is approaching this. They actually want the microphones to stay on. This is a statement that from Brian Fallon, the Harris campaign senior advisor for communications. I'll read you part of it. It says, our understanding is that Trump's handlers prefer the muted microphone because they don't think their candidate can act presidential for 90 minutes on his own. They later go on to say that they don't think he can handle himself against Vice President Harris without the benefit of a mute button. Now, the Trump campaign pushback on this is that these rules had already been agreed upon when President Biden was the candidate, though I'm told that the only remaining dispute at this time is microphones, despite suggestions from the Trump campaign that she also wanted notes and wanted to be seated.
In other words, they're debating about the debate. Both sides are claiming that the other is afraid to stick to or change the previously agreed upon rules about microphones, while the Harris team wants to change them from what Biden originally agreed to so that Trump has the opportunity to make himself look like an asshole. It's giving Trump the chance to pounce on their request as hiding Harris behind new rules. And even though they want him to step in it with open mics, Trump is using it to potentially hide himself without being seen as scared.
I still think it's an open question of
really?
whether or not it happens.
Trump's going to go. He's got to.
You think that Trump is going to pull out?
I think Trump is nervous about it. I think I talked to a lot of sources in his world. I think he has really struggled with it. It's not just a narrative or a talking point from Democrats. He really has struggled with how to combat her. And I think going into that debate, he does not really want to do it. I think it's difficult, if not impossible, for him to pull out because his campaign manager had cards printed that said anywhere, anytime, any place for President Biden, and it would look weak. But I don't think he's looking forward to it at this point.
It very well may be true, but the Harris campaign's plan to change the agreement to unmute mics so that Trump will hurt himself some more isn't important enough to give him this out. But as usual, just when they've got a narrative working in Trump's favor, he undercuts his team's progress by saying exactly the opposite, for the sake of boasting about how he can really handle anything.
Would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on, but the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. They're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
President Trump, how are you specifically preparing for the debate versus Harris?
I'm not, really. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I think my whole life I've been preparing for a debate.